Hi there, a brief hiatus due to the Republic Plenary Summit last week, and we are back. It's been a newsy week, from the most audacious moment in Baluch insurgency against the Pakistani state to a flare-up of violence in Manipur despite president's rule, to the Stalin government pushing the envelope even further on Tamil separatism, to Nepal in our neighborhood where the king returned to a rapturous welcome, clearly spoiled for choice. The Trump administration brokered ceasefire between Russia and Ukraine. It was on and off, but might succeed. The Trump tariff plan has clear contours now, and some of its impact has already kicked in. So I picked two. Let's have a deep dive on what the tariff war means for India and the world. Two, I take you on a journey to Kathmandu. Is the Himalayan kingdom on road to be a Hindu Rashtra again? Let's get started. Erstwhile royal King Gyanendra had arrived in Kathmandu only after a month in Pokhara to this tumultuous welcome by the monarchists of Nepal this week. The sentiment in the air was strong, the demand clear. Restore monarchy, restore Nepal as a Hindu Rashtra. World's only official Hindu nation that Nepal was till 2006, when it was made a constitutionally secular country as part of a civil war truce with the communist Maoists. But before I get into the complexities of the issue at hand, of whether Nepal is any close to reverting to monarchy and Hinduism as a state religion, a brief look at the protagonist, King Gyanendra. Gyanendra was never supposed to be king. Born as second son to the then Prince Mahendra in 1947, his stars aligned in a manner at the moment of his birth that even his sight was considered inauspicious, prompting his banishment to his grandmother's place on a royal astrologer's advice. That turned out to be a quirk of fate that would make him king even before his father Mahendra or elder brother Birendra at the age of just 3. It so happened that in 1950, reigning monarch King Tribhuvan, who was also the grandfather of Gyanendra, had to flee Nepal facing challenge from the house of the Ranas, of which Mohan Shamsher Jang Bahadur Rana was the prime minister. Tribhuvan first took shelter in the Indian embassy before being evacuated into IAF Dakotas to Delhi. This too was not without drama, with the Nepal government trying to block the escape by digging up the runway of Kathmandu airport and parking trucks on it so that the Dakotas could not take off. The Nehru government had to flex its muscles to make it happen. But with Tribhuvan and his family in Delhi, it left only 3-year-old Gyanendra from the Shah lineage to take on the mantle of king, which he was duly anointed by the Rana government. As fate would have it, in 2001, then King Birendra was killed along with 8 of his family in a regicide by his son, Prince Dipendra, over a family dispute. Gyanendra became king again, this time his reign continuing till 2008, when a Maoist-dominated Constituent Assembly abolished monarchy in Nepal. Like in 1950, so in 2001, Gyanendra became king by default and had to make way when circumstances changed. That brings us back to the present. Are circumstances changing in Nepal, again making Gyanendra appear out of the shadows that he was pushed into? After the second round of multi-party democracy that kicked in from 2008, Nepal has seen 13 prime ministers. It is an encore of the 1990-2005 period when Nepal had again seen 13 prime ministers. The same set of leaders, same set of people around them, a game of musical chairs in which personal ambition takes precedence over national interest, where political intrigue guides public conduct. Corruption has been rampant. Nepal has slipped on most development parameters. Infrastructure is broken. But for mountain tourism and foreign remittances of Nepalese abroad, the economy in complete shambles. Incumbent KP Sharma Oli has been prime minister 4 times in the last decade and a half. His ally Pushpa Kumar Dahal alias Prachanda thrice. Sher Bahadur Deoba 5 times. Gireja Prasad Koirala, who passed away in 2010, had been PM 5 times. Surya Bahadur Thapa, who died in 2015, had been PM again 5 times. Lokesh Bahadur Chand became PM 4 times. The likes of Krishna Prasad Bhattarai, Madhav Nepal, Sushil Koirala, Baburam Bhattarai have been faces in Nepali politics, controlling levers of power for 3 decades and more. The case of Surya Bahadur Thapa is the most emblematic of the Malays. He became PM for the first time in 1963 and for the 5th time in 2003, hanging around for 40 years. Through all this, Nepali economy has stagnated. Tourism around Mount Everest carries the burden of service sector. Against a potential of 90 gigawatts of hydropower, Nepal has managed just about 2.5 gigawatt of installed capacity. Projects remain mired in corruption. Flagship infrastructure ports like Pokhara and Lumbini airports have come up courtesy China. Look at this report. 5 aircrafts China sold to Nepal Airlines are grounded. The Chinese muscled their way into a deal which Nepal couldn't handle, and the Nepali state has no wherewithal to stand up to a cheating China. A pro-China KP Sharma Oli knows he is a voiceless client for Xi Jinping. Or look at these headlines. The state of aviation safety is so pathetic that for over 10 years now, European Union has put a complete ban on any Nepali airline flying over their airspace for the fear of the aircrafts crashing. This report on the notorious Buddha Air says that the pilots did not even come to know that one wheel had fallen off during takeoff, though they managed to land the plane safely. All these reports are from this week alone. That gives you a sense of frustration that might be building up among the common Nepali citizens over the state of affairs. The mismanagement of the country by the kleptocracy can be allowed to run only that much in the name of multi-party democracy. That is why the mass welcome to Gyanendra this time might be little more than a few thousand monarchists propping up a former king. Since being forced out of the Narayan Hiti palace in 2008, Gyanendra kept a low profile for most part. Only once in 2012, in an interview, he expressed frustration at the way things were panning out and did some loud thinking on his return. The context was that the first Constituent Assembly had failed to come up with a constitution despite 4 years having passed since 2008. A subsequent Constituent Assembly elected in 2013 managed to build consensus to bring about a federal, democratic and secular constitution in late 2015. It took the squabbling Nepali politicians 8 years, yes, 8 years to agree on a constitution. In July 2019, the birthday of King Gyanendra saw street celebrations in Kathmandu by royalists. In February 2023, he attended a pro-monarchy event in Jhapa district, but chose not to speak, just gracing it with his presence on the dais. Then again in October 2024, he visited Bhutan, where he was well received by the Bhutan royal family. It was seen as Gyanendra's message to India that he was willing for a Bhutan kind of arrangement, something he had apparently spurned during the Manmohan Singh era apparently. But he broke silence on February 18 last month, setting a cat among pigeons. In a pre-recorded video released for the Democracy Day, Gyanendra expressed dissatisfaction with the situation in Nepal and sought better accountability. He said he was willing to play a role in saving his country. This was his most direct shot at regaining the monarchy since 2012.
संसारकै पवित्र मुलुक नेपालमा जन्मन र यही माटोको सुगन्धमा आफूलाई समर्पण गर्न पाउँदा हामी हरेक नेपाली पुलकित छौं, गर्वान्वित महसुस गर्दछौं। देश रक्षा र देश समृद्धिको सम्पूर्ण दर्शन बडा महाराज धीराजबाट बक्सेको दिव्य उपदेशबाट लिन सकिने अवस्था रहँदै हामी मध्येकै कतिपय दाजुभाइ दिदीबहिनी किन परायाद्वारा सृजित वाद र विवादको चक्रव्यूहमा फसिरहेका हुन्, हामी सबैले आत्मसमीक्षा गर्नुपर्ने बेला आएको छ।
His reception in Kathmandu on March 9 has to be seen in this backdrop. A day before his return, Gyanendra unveiled a statue of his cousin, King Birendra, at a Pokhara square. The event saw a strong sloganeering in support of monarchy. People egged on Gyanendra to return to power. The pre-2006 national anthem, which sees royalty as protector of the nation, Shriman Gambhir Nepali, was also played. The messaging could not have been clearer. The video and the reception set the political temperature soaring in the Himalayan kingdom. Prime Minister Oli challenged Gyanendra to join politics and contest elections. Former PM Prachanda went a step further. He directly blamed the former king of usurping the throne by making the royal massacre of 2001 happen. These can be seen as stakeholder responses of those in power. But even among the elites of Nepal, the approach to the idea of return of royalty might be softening. Hisila Yami, wife of former Maoist PM Baburam Bhattarai, for example, has expressed frustration publicly at the ineffectiveness of multi-party system and called for the return of monarchy. In 2023, just ahead of his trip to India, then PM Prachanda was petitioned by his own party, again a hardcore communist setup, seeking a referendum on return of monarchy. Prachanda raised quite a few eyebrows in Kathmandu and Beijing with a visit to Mahakal temple in Ujjain, complete with rituals in a saffron robe. The shift from red to saffron might have some feedback from the ground. That brings me to the India part of this issue. As a landlocked country, Nepal has had to deal with two powerful neighbors forever: China up in the north and India down south. But for most part, Nepal has had an India tilt, in good measure because of the people-to-people connect. Nepal was and is Hindu, not atheist. Nepali language is Sanskritic in origin with Devanagari script, not Mandarin. China's entry was always political through communism and Maoism. It has never had any organic connect. If anything, the bloodbath during Maoist-led civil war made Nepal lose 20,000 of its people in the 1995-2005 decade, and much more by way of civic and economic strife. India too played its cards badly often. The two major economic blockades of Nepal, one in 1988 and the second one in 2015, played havoc with pro-India sentiments. But by and large, things have been on an even keel, till 2005 at least, when under Sonia Gandhi and Manmohan Singh, we committed a geopolitical blunder straight out of Pandit Nehru's book. The Congress did not like King Gyanendra. The dislike was mutual and played out in full during the 2005 SAARC summit in Dhaka, where Manmohan Singh and Gyanendra reportedly had a testy exchange. This was enough for the UPA government to broker a deal with the Maoist guerrillas in a manner that Gyanendra was ousted and Nepal declared a secular nation in 2006. The then Congress government in New Delhi effectively executed a China plan in Kathmandu because Sonia Gandhi did not like King Gyanendra. That has changed now. The Kathmandu roadshow of Gyanendra had posters of a beaming Yogi Adityanath. The Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister has been active on the Hindu Connect with Nepal for some years now. His organizations based out of Gorakhpur have deep socio-religious connections in Nepal. His Gorakhpur Mutt, of which he remains the temporal head, has mass following across the border. In 2015, as a Lok Sabha MP, Yogi Adityanath wrote to the then Nepal PM Sushil Koirala seeking to restore the monarchy. Gyanendra had met Yogi in Gorakhpur just a month ago as well. So there is an overlay of a resurgent Hindutva polity in India rubbing off the supporters of the king, who see in the monarchy a unifying factor in a fractured, directionless and corrupt multi-party democracy of Nepal. Moving on.
look at India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. You think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? I don't think so. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India. President Trump believes in reciprocity, and it is about dang time that we have a president who actually looks out for the interests of American businesses and workers.
India is the largest producer and consumer of whiskey in the world. When it comes to drinking, it better be the Patiala peg after all. Jokes apart, America-produced Bourbon is a minuscule 1% of India's whiskey market. The United States exports $9 million worth of that Bourbon to India. Till last month, those American imports attracted 100% tariff. The Modi government slashed them by half in the budget, though it seems the White House's spokesperson is not updated on that fact. But this is not about Indians developing a taste for American bourbon. The larger global trade war unleashed by Donald Trump has started having an impact, and not all of them are to the advantage of America or Trump. The markets are in a tailspin. Long-term outlook for global economy increasingly looks uncertain, and that's why it is getting reflected in the gold prices, for example, which crossed $3,000 to an ounce for the first time in history this week. That's roughly rupees 90,000 per 10 grams in India. There's more to it, which is not going America's way. Pound sterling, which was 1.25 to a dollar in November last when Trump won the election, stands at 1.29 now, 2 months into his presidency. Euro has strengthened from 1.062 to 1.093 against the dollar in the same period, which means the dollar has become weaker in the same markets which Trump seeks to target with his tariffs. The Wednesday announcement of tariffs had immediate blowback from the rest of the world. The European Union's retaliatory measures worth $28 billion match the impact of Trump tantrums on trade.
The European Union must act to protect consumers and business. The countermeasures we take today are strong but proportionate. As the United States are applying tariffs worth $28 billion, we are responding with countermeasures worth 26 billion euros. This matches the economic scope of the tariffs of the United States.
Even friendly nations like Japan and Australia have been hit. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese said the tariffs were entirely unjustified and against the spirit of the nation's enduring friendship with America. This is not a friendly act, said Albanese. Interestingly, Australia was exempt from the tariffs imposed during first term of Trump. So what has changed? Look at this post by the US President on Truth Social. He calls the EU hostile and formed with the sole objective of taking advantage of the United States. He believes the long trade deficit that the US has run post-World War II with the rest of the world is a result of a malicious plan by Europe, by China, by India, and others to fleece his country. It does not help that, like Juhi Chawla of Kabhi Haan Kabhi Na, Trump switches the tariffs on and off between morning and evening. A day after announcing the Canada tariffs, he rolled them back the next day. The markets are not liking it. The Nasdaq was down 4% on Wednesday, but more tellingly, Tesla's stock tanked 10%. Trump's first buddy, Elon Musk, is not exactly benefiting either. As per reports, 5 top billionaires of the world, all of whom attended Trump's oath-taking ceremony in January, have seen their collective wealth come down by $209 billion. The S&P 500 is down roughly 10% since Trump took over presidency. The American president gets it wrong at multiple levels. 1. America consumes more than it produces. That's been the pattern since World War II, and that's because cost of production is higher in US with their dollar wages and whatnot. It cannot produce the same textiles and clothing that it consumes as efficiently as companies can in Bangladesh, or footwear in Vietnam, or washing machines and television sets in South Korea, or the Trump mega hats in China. 2. Trump gets it wrong again when he says he would make other nations pay for the tariffs for the simple reason that the duties get paid by the importing nation. As the importers pay more to the Treasury, they pass on the additional burden to the consumers. If sustained, the tariffs are going to build an inflationist spiral in the United States. That makes one wonder if this is really the plan. Addressing a business gathering a day before the tariffs kicked in, Trump maintained that the action would encourage foreign companies to invest in US manufacturing, effectively to avoid costs. But it is not that simple. The raw material would still need to be imported, even if the shop floor for manufacturing gets set up in America.
During the first full month in office, we've not only stopped that manufacturing collapse, but we've begun to rapidly reverse it and get major gains. We created 10,000 manufacturing jobs in February alone. That hasn't happened in a long time.
Asked if it could lead to recession, Trump told a gaggle of White House correspondents he did not see it coming, but admitted that this was going to cause some hardship in the short term. I am doing it the hard way, but results are going to be 20 times better. American economy would boom, he said.
I don't see it at all. I think this country is going to boom. But as I said, I can do it the easy way or the hard way. The hard way to do it is exactly what I'm doing, but the results are going to be 20 times greater.
Mr. President, you asked...
And remember, Trump is always right.
Later, when asked on Fox News whether his policies could lead to a recession, an uncharacteristically ambivalent Trump said he hates to make predictions. There is a period of transition, which means he is not ruling the possibility out. If you read his lips, which is not easy, and read between the lines, the message is clear. Tariff is a tool to browbeat others, to shift manufacturing. If companies and corporations make in America, there might be case-to-case relaxations on imports. It is easier said than done, however. That brings me to what's in it for us. India has lived through this with the horrific import substitution regime during the Planning Commission days, and would not wish it upon anyone. The Modi government has been prepping up. There's been a flurry of activity in New Delhi with the Commerce Ministry checking with importing bodies to explore whether they can import more from the United States vis-à-vis China without compromising competitiveness. Minister Piyush Goyal has just returned from Washington, D.C., and the two sides are working to find a way out with a trade deal. And we know of Tesla setting up some showrooms in India and Starlink getting entry via tie-ups with Indian telecom majors just this week. But till that happens, every morning would be a typical Trump roller coaster, even swinging from the sublime to the ridiculous. Look at this post of the US president. If Europe does not reduce duty on whiskey, I would impose 200% on French wine and champagne. The Americans would have expensive wine, the French even more expensive Bourbon. For us in India, for the time being, our women folk are going to be richer. Gold prices have sped up thanks to the uncertainty. And all that glitters on our sisterhood has an extra sheen for now. Thanks for watching.